Welcome to my channel Daily English. Improve your English through story. Poor Sally Simple. Once upon a time, there lived a dame called Sally Simple. She was very rich indeed and had fine dresses and wonderful bonnets. She was vain and proud and always loved to show off her fine clothes. She lived in Twinkle village and the folk there disliked her very much. If she spent a little of her money on other people instead of on herself, she would be a nicer person. They said, but nobody liked to tell Sally Simple this. One day, Sally was most excited because she had a new red shawl, new red shoes to match, a wonderful bonnet with red roses on, as light as feather, and a magnificent sunshade with red roses all around the brim. How all the folk in the village will stare when I go out dressed up in my new clothes, she thought to herself in glee. How they will envy me. No one has a sunshade like mine, and no one has such shoes, shawl, and bonnet. On the next hot, sunny day, Sally Simple herself, dressed up in all her new clothes, how grand she looked. Her bonnet was exactly right. Her shoes twinkled in and out as she walked, and very smart they looked. Her shawl was of the finest silk, and as for her sunshade, well, it was the prettiest ever seen in Twinkle village. All the folk there saw Sally Simple going out in her new finery, and nobody smiled at her or told her how nice she looked. No, they all turned their heads and looked the other way. Look at that mean, vain creature, said one to another. She wouldn't give even a penny yesterday to help poor old Tom Pepper, who fell down and broke his leg last week. And now here she is all dressed up in expensive clothes. Well, we just won't look at her or say a single word of praise. Sally Simple was annoyed and hurt when no one seems to see her. She was a foolish woman and did not know that people thought her mean and vain. So up and down the village she went holding her head high in its new bonnet and her new shoe, making clap, clap noise as she walked along. Now to the village. That day came Dame Selai one on the look out for somebody to trick. That was how the rascally old woman got her living. She lived on her wits and was always picking up money or goods by tricking others. Not so clever as she was, and as soon as she saw Sally Simple, she knew that here was someone she might rob. Good morning to you, she said politely to Sally Simple. Could you tell me the way to the tea shop? Certainly, said Sally. I am going that way. You can come with me. So off they went, the old woman throwing glances of great admiration at Sally's shawl and bonnet. I hope you don't mind my mentioning it, said Dame Sally one at last, but really I cannot help remarking what a beautiful bonnet, what is you have on, and what a fine shawl. Sally Simple was delighted. Here at last was someone who was praising her. She was so pleased, and that she asked Dame Sullivan to go into the tea shop and have cup of coffee with her. So in they went. They had cups of coffee and buns, and all the time Dame Sullivan was busy praising this and that. That bonnet looks rather heavy to me, she said at last. It is very lovely, but surely just a bit heavy to wear. with all those red roses on. Not a bit, not a bit, said Sally Simple. At once, just try it, dame. You will find it is as light as a feather. Really marvelous, Sally Simple was pleased. Doesn't the shawl match the bonnet nicely? She asked. Very well indeed, said Dame Sullivan admiringly. But it looks to me as if it might be a little too hot. Indeed, it isn't, cried Sally. Do you suppose I would choose a hot shawl for this weather? No, it is the coolest shawl I ever had. Try it and see. So Dame Sullivan wrapped the shawl around her shoulder and admired herself in the glass once more. It is lovely, she said, and you are again right, my dear Miss Simple. It is not at all hot. In fact, it is a very cool shawl. I might have known that you are clever enough to choose just the right shawl for weather like this. Have you seen the color of my shoe? Asked Sally, putting out her feet. Do you not think they match the shawl beautifully? I had such a task to get them just right. They certainly do match, said the old dame, but it seems to me they look rather uncomfortable to walk in. I don't believe you will be very happy in those shoes, Miss Simple. Pardon my finding fault with such lovely shoes, won't you? She kicked off her shoes at once. Try them on and see for yourself, she said quite crossly. Dame Sullivan put off her own shoe and slipped her feet into the beautiful red pair. Do you mind if I just walk up the street a little and try them? She asked. Really, I can hardly believe that such small shoes can be comfortable. Yes, do walk up the street and see, said Sally, eager to make the old dame say she was right. So out of the door went Dame up the street as far as the corner. Then she came back. All the folk of Twinkle Village were most astonished to see her wearing Sally Simple's clothes, and they gaped at her in surprise. Once again, you are right, dear Miss Simple, said the old dame, sitting down at the table. Really, you have a most beautiful new set of clothes, even to your fine sunshade, though I fear it would not be of much use in the sun. It is very pretty, but would not keep the hot sun off your head very well. You don't know what you are talking about, said Sally, in quite a temper. Why, I choose that sunshade because it is both pretty and useful. It keeps the sun's rays from my face in a most excellent way. I beg you to take it and put it up. Go out into the sun and walk a little way. I am sure you will once again come back and tell me I am right. Dame Sullivan picked up the sunshade, went to the door, and opened it. Then she stepped out into the hot sunny street and walked up it, carrying the fine sunshade and wearing the lovely bonnet, the beautiful shawl, and the magnificent shoes. She went right up to the corner and turned round. Sally Simple waited in the tea shop for the nice old dame to come back. She waited and she waited. When she had waited for 10 minutes, she became impatient and went in her stockinged feet to the door. She looked out. There was no sign of the old dame at all. Sally Simple was vexed. She stamped her foot and got red in the face, as she always did when she was angry. But still the old dame did not come back. Have you seen an old lady anywhere wearing my new bonnet, my new shoe, my new shawl, and carrying my new sunshade? Sally called at last to some passing shoppers. Yes, they said, grinning. We saw her getting into her old donkey cart round the corner there and drive off in a great hurry, looking as grand as a queen. She must have gone off with all your things, Sally Simple. Well, of course, that is just what had happened. How Sally raged, how she screamed, how she wept, but no one said anything to comfort her at all. Sally, you deserve it, said Mother Trippy, who is going to be sorry that you have lost the fine things that caused you to be so vain, so mean, and so proud. Dame Salivan paid you for them with flattering words and false praise. Go home and think about all that has happened and get some good out of it. Poor Sally, simple. Home she went in her stockinged feet with her bare head, no shawl and no sunshade, a sadder and much wiser woman. And so people say she did get some good out of Dame's Halai one trick. She turned over a new life and was much kinder and more generous than she had ever been before. But she is still rather foolish. Poor Sally.